The red dust of Mars swirled around the observation post as Lieutenant Jeho Park walked his daily patrol. The Earth shone like a blue jewel in the dark sky above. It was another quiet day at the Mars Security Station, or so he thought. The first sign that something was different came when the station's sensors started beeping. At first, Jeho thought it was just another dust storm warning. But the readings were unlike anything he had seen before. A massive object was approaching Mars, and it wasn't any Earth ship he knew about. Station control, this is Lieutenant Park. Are you seeing this? He called through his radio. Affirmative, Lieutenant. All personnel, report to battle stations immediately, the controller replied. Within minutes, the object became visible. It was enormous, easily 10 times the size of Earth's largest spacecraft. Its silver surface gleamed in the sunlight as it settled into orbit around Mars. Jeho and his team watched from their defensive positions, weapons ready but not yet aimed. A bright beam of light appeared from the ship, touching down on the surface about 100 meters from the station. When the light faded, 3 tall figures stood there. They wore what looked like spacesuits, but far more advanced than anything humans had created. The aliens, because that's what they had to be, raised their hands in what seemed to be a universal gesture of peace. One of them stepped forward and pressed something on their suit. A voice came through all the station's communications channels, speaking perfect English. Greetings, humans of Earth. We are representatives of the Galactic Federation. We come in peace. Jeho couldn't help but smile at the classic line. As the ranking officer present, he stepped forward to meet them. I am Lieutenant Jeho Park of the Earth Space Force. Welcome to Mars. The aliens seemed surprised by his calm approach. The leader spoke again. You seem unusually composed for a species experiencing first contact. We've been preparing for this possibility for a long time, Jeho replied simply. The aliens looked at each other, and Jeho could sense their confusion, even through their helmets. They pressed another button on their suits, and their helmets became transparent. Their faces were humanoid, but with purple skin and large silver eyes. Lieutenant Park, the leader said, we have been watching your planet for some time. We are concerned. Your world is what we classify as a death world, a planet so dangerous that it should not be able to support intelligent life. Yet here you are. Jeho raised an eyebrow. Earth? Dangerous. It's quite pleasant most of the time. The aliens seemed shocked by this statement. One of them pulled out a device and started reading. Your planet has extreme temperature variations, powerful storms, active volcanoes, earthquakes, dangerous predators, and gravity nearly twice what most civilized species consider comfortable. How do you survive? Jeho shrugged. We adapt. It's just home to us. Would you like a tour of our facility? We can show you how we train our personnel. The aliens agreed, though they moved with obvious caution. As Jeho led them through the airlock, he noticed they seemed to struggle with Mars' gravity, even though it was much lower than Earth's. By the way, the alien leader asked as they walked, what is your military specialty, Lieutenant Park? I'm a basic training instructor, Jeho replied casually. Basic training? The alien asked. Yes, I teach our newest recruits the fundamental skills they need. Nothing special, just survival techniques, combat basics, physical conditioning. The simple stuff. The aliens fell silent, but Jeho could see them exchanging worried glances. He didn't understand their concern. After all, he was just going to show them the beginner's course. Wait until they saw what advanced training looked like. 2 weeks after first contact, Captain Haenul Kim stood before the Galactic Federation's Military Council. The council chamber was massive, with seats rising in circles like an amphitheater. Alien representatives from 100 worlds looked down at him. Despite their intimidating appearance, Haenul remained calm. High Commander Axtil, a tall being with metallic scales, spoke from the highest platform. Captain Kim, your world wishes to join our Federation's defense force. However, we have concerns. Your species comes from a planet that should be too hostile for advanced life. We must test your capabilities." Hanul nodded politely. "We understand, Commander. What kind of test did you have in mind?" "We propose that you undergo our most difficult combat training program," Axtil said. "If you survive, if you pass, Earth will be accepted as a full military partner." Several council members whispered among themselves when Hanul didn't show any fear at the word survive. Instead, he smiled. "I accept. When do we begin?" The training facility was on a moon orbiting a gas giant. Its gravity was set to what the aliens considered extremely high, about half of Earth's normal gravity. Hanul found himself bouncing slightly when he walked, having to be careful not to jump too high. His alien squadmates watched him with a mixture of fear and curiosity. There was Kex, a four-armed warrior from a low-gravity world, and Vela, a reptilian soldier who kept her distance from Hanul. They were supposed to be among the toughest warriors in the Federation. "Today's first exercise," announced the alien instructor, "is the survival course. You must complete it in under 6 hours. Many have died attempting this challenge." Hanul looked at the course. It had artificial mountains, bodies of water, and various obstacles. The temperature would shift between what the aliens considered extremes, about 10 to 35 degrees Celsius. He tried not to laugh. It reminded him of the park where he used to play as a child. "Is something amusing, Deathworlder?" the instructor asked. "No, sir," Hanul replied respectfully, "just eager to begin." The course started with what the aliens called a deadly climb, a 100-meter cliff face. While his squadmates put on safety equipment, Hanul began climbing naturally. He remembered harder climbs during his weekend hiking trips back home. "Captain Kim," Kex called out in panic. "The safety systems, you forgot them." "It's fine," Hanul called back, already halfway up. "The handholds are quite good, actually." Next came the water crossing. The aliens considered it freezing, though it was warmer than the beaches in Busan during spring. Hanul swam across easily, even taking time to help Vela, who was struggling with the current. Hour after hour, Hanul completed each challenge. He didn't just survive, he thrived. When the temperature dropped to its lowest point, he took off his outer layer because he was getting too warm from exercising. The alien observers were speechless. At the end of the course, Hanul crossed the finish line with 2 hours to spare. He wasn't even breathing hard. His squadmates arrived much later, exhausted but amazed. High Commander Axtil approached him, looking troubled. "Captain Kim, you just completed our most challenging course as if it were routine." "It was a good warm-up," Hanul said honestly. "Though if you're interested, I could show you some of our basic training exercises from Earth. They might help improve your program." The commander's metallic scales shifted color in what Hanul had learned was a sign of shock. That was just a warm-up to you." Hanul nodded. "We could start with something simple, maybe a standard morning run. Only 20 kilometers or so." The medical team had to attend to 3 council members who fainted at his words. Hanul started to realize that perhaps humans were a bit more resilient than he had thought. Training instructor Sang-Min Lee watched with interest as his alien students prepared for their first Earth-style training session. The Federation had given him a large training facility on their military base. After Captain Hanul Kim's impressive performance, the Federation wanted to learn human training methods. "Today's exercise will be simple," Sang-Min announced to the group of 30 alien warriors. "We will begin with standard warm-up exercises." The aliens wore their environmental suits, concerned about the room's conditions. Sang-Min had set the temperature and gravity to match Earth's normal levels. To him, it felt like a pleasant spring day. To the aliens, it was extreme. "First, 50 push-ups," Sang-Min said. He demonstrated the exercise, moving smoothly up and down. The aliens watched in horror as he exercised under what they considered crushing gravity. A tall warrior named Krath raised his hand. "Instructor Lee, surely you mean 5 push-ups." 50 would kill most species. 50 is the minimum, Sangmin replied. In regular training on Earth, we usually do 200. Several aliens made sounds of distress in their translators. One of them, a Vextar warrior known for his strength, tried to do a push-up. He managed 3 before his arms gave out. Perhaps we should start with something easier, Sangmin said kindly. Let's try jogging in place for 10 minutes. The aliens seemed relieved until they started the exercise. Under Earth's gravity, many of them could barely lift their feet. Their environmental suits, designed to protect them from what they considered harsh conditions, made movement even harder. How do you train your young warriors? Asked a Federation military scientist who was observing the session. Surely you don't expect children to handle these conditions. Sangmin smiled. Would you like to see? I have a video from my daughter's elementary school physical education class. He played the video on the large screen. It showed young children running, jumping, playing sports, and doing exercises that made the alien warriors stare in disbelief. The sight of small humans moving so easily under such high gravity challenged everything they thought they knew. Those small humans, the scientists said, they are not wearing any protective gear. They are exposed to your world's raw atmosphere and gravity. And they are laughing. Of course, Sangmin replied. They're having fun. This is just normal play for them. During the break, Sangmin noticed the aliens discussing among themselves in hushed tones. He could understand their shock. Everything they had been taught about survivable conditions was being proven wrong. One brave alien student approached him. Instructor Lee, we have a question. If this is how strong your children are naturally, why does your species need military training at all? Strength isn't everything, Sangmin explained. We train for discipline, teamwork, and skill. Physical conditioning is just the beginning. The aliens fell silent at his words. The idea that humans considered such intense physical demands just the beginning was difficult for them to process. At the end of the session, Sangmin gathered his students. Tomorrow, we will try some light cardio exercises. Please prepare yourselves mentally. And remember, what you saw today is what we consider very basic. We haven't even started the real training yet. As the aliens left, many walking unsteadily under Earth normal gravity, Sangmin received a message from Federation Command. They wanted to know if humans would be willing to help redesign all Federation military training programs. Sangmin smiled. The galaxy was about to learn what real training meant. Private Yu Jin Choi prepared for her demonstration run of the Earth Standard obstacle course. The Federation had gathered its highest-ranking military officials to observe what humans considered basic training. The outdoor facility had been modified to match Earth's conditions exactly. This is a standard first-week training course, Yu Jin explained to the alien observers. She adjusted her heavy combat gear, which weighed 40 kilograms. Every human soldier must complete this to begin their military service. The course stretched out before her. It included a 20-kilometer run through rough terrain, followed by a series of obstacles. The weather system was set to create rain and wind, simulating typical Earth conditions. To the aliens, it looked like a death trap. Private Choi, one of the Federation officials, said through a translator, "Our medical team is standing by. Please signal immediately if you experience distress." Yu Jin nodded politely, trying not to show her amusement. The course was simpler than the one she had used during her high school athletics training. As she took her position at the starting line, she began to sing a traditional Korean military cadence, her clear voice carrying across the field. The aliens watched in stunned silence as she started running. Despite the heavy gear, she maintained a steady pace. The simulated rain didn't slow her down. When she reached the first obstacle, a 5-meter wall, she climbed it without hesitation. "Notice how she isn't using any safety equipment," one alien whispered to another. "How can their species have such disregard for danger?" Yu Jin continued through the course, her singing never faltering. She crawled under barbed wire, swam across a cold water pit, and climbed rope ladders. The aliens' monitoring equipment showed that her vital signs remained stable, even as she performed what they considered impossible feats. At the halfway point, several Federation observers had to leave. They couldn't watch what they thought was a suicide mission. But Yu Jin kept going, her pace steady, her movements confident. Her body temperature and heart rate are within normal parameters, reported a confused alien medical officer. She appears to be enjoying this. The most shocking moment came during the final obstacle. It was a series of monkey bars suspended over a mud pit. Yu Jin, still singing, crossed it using only her arms, the 40 kilograms of gear hanging from her body. 3 more alien observers fainted at this display. When she finished the course, Yu Jin was barely breathing hard. She stood at attention and saluted the remaining Federation officials. Course completed, sir. Standard time achieved. Standard time? One official asked weakly. Yes, sir. This is the minimum speed required for all recruits. Our advanced courses are much more challenging. The Federation's military commander, who had remained silent until now, stepped forward. Private Choi, you mentioned this is first week training. What happens in the second week? Yu Jin smiled. That's when we start the difficult exercises, sir. Would you like to see those as well? The medical team had to treat 5 more officials who lost consciousness at her words. The remaining observers huddled together, discussing in urgent whispers. They had just witnessed one small human female accomplish what their strongest warriors considered impossible. Later that day, the Federation issued a formal request to Earth's military command. They wanted to understand how humans had become so resilient. More importantly, they wanted to learn if any of their own species could be trained to achieve even a fraction of human capabilities. Yu Jin, unaware of the chaos she had caused, simply asked when she could demonstrate the advanced courses. She was looking forward to showing them some real challenges. Commander Sun Haikang stood before the Federation Council during a formal diplomatic dinner. The Grand Hall was filled with representatives from hundreds of alien worlds, all eager to understand the mystery of human strength. The demonstration of basic training had caused quite a stir among the Federation species. Honorable Council members, Sun Hai began. I understand you have questions about what you witnessed during our training demonstrations. Medical Officer Minji Park and I are here to explain. Minji stepped forward with her presentation materials. The aliens leaned forward in their seats, their food forgotten. Even the Federation's highest officials had come to hear this explanation. What you saw was not extraordinary for humans. Sun He continued. It was, as we said, merely the first week of basic training. Let me explain why this is normal for us. Minji displayed a hologram showing Earth's specifications. Our homeworld has shaped us. The gravity you find so crushing is what our bones and muscles develop to handle. The temperature ranges you consider extreme are what we call weather. The oxygen levels you need protection from are what our lungs evolved to breathe. The alien representatives watched in fascination as Minji showed them detailed scans of human biology. She explained how human bones were dense enough to support their weight in high gravity, how their muscles could repair and grow stronger after stress, and how their bodies could maintain stable temperature across wide environmental ranges. But surely your species paid a price for these adaptations, one alien scientist said. Such physical capabilities must have cost you in other areas. Sun Hai smiled. Actually, these conditions pushed us to develop better problem-solving skills. When your world tries to kill you regularly, you learn to think creatively. Minji showed them more data. Human children learn to walk under full Earth gravity. By the time they reach school age, they can run, jump, and play in conditions that would incapacitate most Federation species. This is not because we are superior. It is simply because Earth demanded this of us. The Federation Council members watched in silence as Minji displayed videos of everyday human activities. Construction workers carrying heavy loads, athletes performing in various weather conditions, children playing in snow, and then in summer heat. What you consider survival training, Sun Hai explained. we consider normal life. Our basic military training is designed to build on the natural capabilities we already have. An alien military commander raised his hand, but the young soldier who performed the demonstration, she was singing while carrying that heavy equipment. How is this possible? Ah, Sunhai said, that is perhaps the most important point. Humans don't just survive these conditions. We thrive in them. We find joy in physical challenges. We push our limits not because we must, but because we can. The revelation seemed to stun the council. The idea that humans actually enjoyed what other species considered lethal conditions was difficult for them to process. At the end of the presentation, the Federation's High Commander stood up. "We have misjudged humans," he announced. "We saw your world as a prison of harsh conditions. Now we understand it was a forge that created something remarkable." Sun Hai and Minji exchanged satisfied looks. The Federation was finally beginning to understand that humans weren't just surviving on a death world. They were thriving because of it. "Would you like to learn more about our advanced training programs?" Sun Hai asked innocently. The medical team moved into position, ready for the inevitable fainting spells that would follow. Instructor Taiwan Quan watched with pride as his mixed class of human and alien soldiers completed their morning exercises. 6 months had passed since the Federation had begun incorporating human training methods. The changes were remarkable. The large training facility on the Federation's central military base now operated at Earth-standard gravity. The temperature controls were set to match Earth's normal range. At first, many had called these conditions too extreme. Now, the waiting list for human-style training grew longer each day. "Remember to breathe steadily," Taiwan called out to his students. He watched as a Krath warrior, once unable to stand in Earth gravity, completed his 20th push-up. The alien's arms shook with effort, but his determination never wavered. The Federation's military council had completely changed their approach to training. They now understood that challenging conditions didn't break soldiers. They made them stronger. Even species from low-gravity worlds were showing impressive improvements in strength and endurance. Instructor Quan called out one of his alien students, a female warrior from a water world. "I can now run 5 kilometers without my environmental suit. Last year, I couldn't even walk in these conditions." Taiwan nodded with satisfaction. The Federation soldiers were adapting faster than anyone had expected. Their bodies were changing, becoming stronger and more resilient. What had once seemed impossible was now becoming standard. In another part of the facility, medical teams studied the changes in the alien soldiers. Bone density was increasing. Muscle mass was growing. Respiratory systems were becoming more efficient. The harsh conditions of human-style training were transforming them. "The term Deathworlder has taken on a new meaning," remarked the Federation's chief medical officer to Taiwan during an evaluation session. "Now, other species see it as a mark of respect. They want to learn from Earth's experience." The biggest surprise came from the psychological changes. Alien soldiers began to show the same determination and resilience that humans were known for. They started to push their own limits, seeking challenges rather than avoiding them. During one training session, a group of alien soldiers asked to try the advanced obstacle course, the one that had caused so many officials to faint months earlier. They knew they couldn't match human performance, but they wanted to try anyway. "This is the real victory," Taiwan told his superior officers. "They're not just getting stronger, they're developing the human mindset, the belief that they can overcome any challenge." The Federation's combat effectiveness increased dramatically. Soldiers who had once required constant environmental protection could now operate in a wider range of conditions. Emergency response teams could handle situations they never could before. Other changes followed. Federation ship designs were modified to operate with higher gravity. Combat gear was redesigned to be more challenging to use, building strength and endurance. Even civilian fitness programs began incorporating modified versions of human exercise routines. At the end of each training day, Taiwan would gather his students for a final message. "Remember," he would say, The goal isn't to become human. The goal is to find the strength that already exists within your own species. The aliens had learned an important lesson from humanity. Sometimes, the most dangerous conditions created the strongest warriors. What had once been seen as a curse, evolution on a death world, was now understood as humanity's greatest gift to the galaxy. 1 year after the first human training program began, Colonel Du Hyun-shin stood proudly on the graduation platform. Before him stood the first graduating class of the Joint Human Federation Elite Force. The ceremony was being broadcast across thousands of worlds. The training field showed signs of heavy use. Deep footprints marked the dirt where countless exercises had taken place. The obstacle course, now even more challenging than before, stood as a symbol of how far they had come. "When I look at you today," Du Hyun began his speech, "I don't see humans and aliens. I see warriors who have proven themselves under the harshest conditions imaginable." The graduating class included members from 20 different species. Some came from worlds with only 1/3 of Earth's gravity. Others had never experienced rain before training. Now they all stood tall under Earth-normal conditions, their bodies transformed by months of intense training. Among the graduates was Kex, the 4-armed warrior who had once feared Earth's gravity. Now he wore his heavy combat gear with pride. Next to him stood Vela, the reptilian soldier who had once kept her distance from humans. She had recently broken the Federation record for underwater operations. "Your achievement is more than physical," Du Hyun continued. "You have proven that any species can adapt, grow stronger, and overcome their limitations. You have shown that what makes humans strong isn't just our bodies, it's our determination to push beyond what seems possible." In the audience, Lieutenant Jae-ho Park watched with satisfaction. He remembered the day the aliens first arrived on Mars, how they had feared Earth's conditions. Now, some of their species could handle conditions even harsher than Earth's. The Federation's combat effectiveness had indeed increased tenfold. But more importantly, the relationship between humans and aliens had transformed. Fear had turned into respect, and respect had grown into true partnership. A small demonstration followed the ceremony. The graduates performed what they now called a light workout, activities that would have been considered lethal just 1 year ago. They moved together smoothly, humans and aliens working as one unit. "The term Deathworlder has gained a new meaning," Du Hyun said as he concluded his speech. "It no longer describes a curse of being born on a harsh world. Instead, it represents the strength that comes from facing challenges and overcoming them." After the ceremony, Jae-ho met with some of the alien graduates. They shared stories about their first days of training, laughing about how they once thought Earth's gravity would kill them. Now they planned weekend hiking trips to Earth's mountains. The graduation ended with a new tradition. The entire class ran the obstacle course together, singing the training cadences they had learned. Their voices, human and alien together, echoed across the training grounds. Even the alien observers who had once fainted at the sight now watched with appreciation. As the sun set on the ceremony, Jae-ho looked at the mixed group of graduates with pride. Earth was no longer seen as a backwater death world. Instead, it was respected as a forge where the galaxy's finest warriors were made. The future of galactic defense looked brighter than ever. "Next class starts tomorrow," Jae-ho said to a group of new recruits waiting eagerly nearby. "Are you ready to begin your journey?" Their answer came in perfect unison, in the words that had become the motto of the Joint Force. "On Earth or in space, together we rise."